Where is the time gone? So another year is about to bite the dust, and what better way to celebrate than to look back at all the moments that made us laugh and smile, such as the Hawk Tua meme, breakdancing debuting at the Olympics, the Willy Wonka experience fiasco, Borderlands flopping super hard, Joker 2 flopping even harder than that, Concord flopping so hard it broke every single flopping record. Actually, this year's been pretty cringe, to be honest. But something that isn't cringe is all the Yuri Ships we got. Aha! Segue. So if the title isn't obvious, I'll be going over my top 5 Yuri picks of 2024. And these will all be anime ships that debut this year. Which means no OG Love Live ships. Otherwise, this list would be nothing but characters from Nijion Season 2 and Superstar Season 3. And it should go without saying that I haven't watched every single anime this year. So if there's a ship you thought I was gonna bring up, that's most likely your answer. And I thought I'd make a special mention for this one specifically. The reason I don't mention anything about Girls Band Cry is because I still haven't finished watching it. I know. I'm aware of all the positive hoopla around it, but I can just never seem to find the time to continue watching. If it's any consolation, I can say pretty confidently that a certain gremlin and rocker chick from the show would have made this list. But obviously, I have to reserve full judgment until I finish it. Finally, and ironically, one of the only Yuri anime this year, Whisper Me a Love Song, will not be appearing on this list. I'm sure most of you are aware of the situation with the anime, so I'm not gonna harp on about it. But since it has yet to finish airing, I can't in good graces make an exception for it. But at least the last 2 episodes will be shown at the end of December, which means we can finally put this whole debacle to bed. And lastly, for the sake of variety, it'll just be 1 ship per anime, so get ready to type a steaming comment for me later. Also, this will be major spoiler territory, so proceed with caution. Alright, let's go. Number 5. Masaki and Leva. Mayonaka Punch. This anime kinda caught me by surprise, honestly. It's not the funniest show of the year, or even a masterpiece, but conceptually it appealed to me as a content creator. And it started strong, and ended strong. Now very quickly, the show's about a girl named Masaki who was booted off her YouTube crew for being a jerk. So she decided to go off and solo grind her YouTube career instead. As she was filming one of her videos in an abandoned hospital, she comes across a hungry vampire girl named Leva. And after a wacky game of tag, Masaki bargained with her to be a part of her videos and reach 1 million subs in exchange for unlimited access to her blood. And with that, Masaki gets an eccentric new member, as well as a crew of vampire buddies. And Leva is guaranteed to make a meal out of Masaki's soft and tender body. Right off the bat, the anime throws this ship into our faces by having Leva fantasizing about Masaki in the most blatant way possible. I was having Vlad love flashbacks, but instead of a horny human obsessed with blood, we have a horny vampire obsessed with blood. Which makes a lot more sense, actually. The thing that always got a chuckle out of me was how Masaki used Leva's thirst to her advantage, which is pretty in character for her. She's selfish, egotistical, and an overall jerk. But it was her meeting with Leva that kickstarted her redemption arc, and it would be inaccurate to say that the feelings were one-sided. Like I said, the show ended with a bang with Masaki realizing the importance of relying on her teammates, and the crown jewel of that team being her biggest supporter, Leva. Though the reveal that Leva apparently is so obsessed with Masaki's blood is because she wants tasted it when she was a kid was as interesting as a plastic bag floating in a puddle. It was so unnecessary and tossed in last minute that I can't help but wonder if the writers were trolling us. I would have been fine with the dream sequence in the beginning being some sort of act of fate or something. You don't have to explain why Leva somehow knew who Masaki was. But if you're gonna come up with some sort of backstory for them, at least make it funny and clever. I don't know, like maybe Leva met Masaki when she was a kid and found out she had some kind of rare blood disease. So she ended up making a cure after splicing her blood with some vampire bats. As she was about to go and cure Masaki, Leva's vampire sister, who also suffered from the same disease, learns that Leva didn't go and cure her first, and gets pissed. And then the two battle each other in an over-the-top superhero vampire fight. Eventually, Leva kills her sister after summoning an army of bats to distract her, and injecting her with an antibody serum that she had for some reason. After this epic CGI-filled spectacle, Leva finally goes to cure Masaki, but not before tasting her blood, because she was totally winded after that showdown. Leva then goes into hibernation for 20 years to recover from her injuries, and the entire time she kept having wet dreams of Masaki, a testament of their bond together. God damn, that would actually make for an excellent movie script. In fact, I'm gonna call it... more blood, please. I'm a vampire and I'm hungry. Number 4. Mashiro and Awayuki, VTuber legend. Probably the most underrated Yuri anime this year, and I say that having absolutely no knowledge on the light novel or VTubers in general. So the anime is about a virtual YouTuber named Kokorone Awayuki, who isn't exactly popping off in the cyberspace, especially compared to her more eccentric VTubing genmates. One day after finishing one of her streams, she cracks open a cold brewski and gets totally sloshed. But unbeknownst to her, the stream was still on, and the world got to see the once pure princess go off in a wild and risque bender. After coming to, Awayuki was terrified to learn about this series of unbearable cringe. But as it turns out, the audience liked the cut of her jib, and Awayuki found herself being more popular from the sudden rebranding. As a result, she decided to let it all hang loose and commit to her wilder side, which also garnered the attention of her fellow VTubers. And from then on, it was nothing but drunken perverted streams and drunken perverted collabs. And a good chunk of them were with her soulmate, Iridori Mashiro. Now, it's no secret that Yuki has a wide range of potential love interests in the show. In fact, she made it a habit to lust over each and every one of her equally perverted co-workers. But anyone with a shred of wisdom can tell you which girl has made the greatest strides in capturing Yuki's heart. And I don't just mean sexual strides. My respect for you is everlasting, Soma Alice, but your libido is beyond even Yuki's threshold. What makes Mashiro stand out is her emotional commitment to Yuki. She cherishes their friendship and has a great understanding of her character. Examples of both is a concern for Yuki going too hard on her strong zero consumption in episode 2, and her showing off her extensive knowledge of Yuki during her competition with Alice in episode 11. But if you're still not sold on these two, look no further than episode 8, where the writers pull out all the punches. It convinced me whole hog that Mashi Yuki's destined to happen. And not simply because they spill their hearts out to each other at the end of the episode, but just watching how they interact with each other in a domestic setting is always so telling to me when it comes to potential couples. You don't have to be a marriage counselor to see how healthy this relationship is. I mean, Christ. Mashiro was even committed enough to make sure she would be the one to kill Yuki during their Among Us playthrough. That's true love, baby. Number 3. Yumiko and Chika, the many sides of voice actor radio. Imawari and Sakurako, Aoi and Eve, Maya and Claudine. These are just a handful of Yuri rivals that have captured my heart. And today we add the latest members to this ever-growing religion, Yumiko and Chika. So let's break down this lovely duo like a Hershey bar on a hot pavement. Utatani Yasumi, aka Sato Yumiko, is an up-and-coming voice actor with major dreams, but only minor roles. One individual in the business that has seen greater success, however, is her peer Yugata Yugi, a talented and sweet girl that Yumiko looks up to immensely. One day, while chilling with her bestie at school, Yumiko has an encounter with her grumpy wallflower classmate Watanabe Chika, who ends up coldly dissing Yugata Yugi. Not one to take that kind of shade throwing, Yumiko defends Yugi's rep, which for some reason causes Chika to lash out even more. After finishing this less than savory interaction, Yumiko is informed of a new gig, a radio talk show with her partner being the one and only Yugata Yugi. And oh my god, can you believe it? It turns out that Yugi was actually Watanabe Chika all along.
What? No way.
Now the two bitter classmates must play nice and put on a happy face. And much wackiness ensues as they navigate the entertainment world with this uneasy partnership. So I think what endeared me to this couple is how much they remind me of Yuzu and Mei. Similar dynamic, but just more interesting and entertaining. And just like Yuzu and Mei, they're total opposites, which as you know makes for more engaging interactions. Now I can go on all about how much fan service they have, as well as Chika's obsession with Yumiko's mighty melons, but that would be low-hanging fruit. Very juicy, low-hanging fruit. But what I'm more fixated on is all the support they provide to each other. It's certainly no secret that their personalities grind their gears, but one thing they don't have beef with is their dedication to their craft, which sparks a mutual respect between them, and eventually something even greater, even if they aren't aware of it yet. Much appreciation that we got those two arcs where Yumiko stood up for Chika during her scandal, and later Chika paying the favor to Yumiko when she was experiencing frustration over a voice acting role. Again, they showed us that they really looked up to each other, and realized how much they had to struggle and sacrifice to make it in the industry. I will say that Yumiko is definitely the more charitable of the two, and I kinda wish that Chika opened up more on an emotional level to Yumiko, especially during the final arc. But then again, a tsundere typically moves at a glacier pace, and when both girls are slow to realize their heart's desire, well, that's her excuse to drag a series on for as long as possible. Number 2. Matama and Nemo, gushing over magical girls. I can already hear the comments. Gareth, you silly sucker. How can you not choose the stars of the show Utena and Kiwi, or Utena and Sayo? Well, my slack-jawed inquisitive friend, allow me to lay the smackdown of my resolve to you. It's true that our saucy sadist Utena shares many wonderful moments between our biggest fan and our biggest masochist, but Matama and Nemo hit all the right spots to satiate my Yuri needs. And I will admit that these two already made an impact on me before the anime, so I technically am cheating a bit here, since my love for them stems primarily from the manga. But hey, seeing them in animated form doing what they do just enforced my shipping, especially after that one wild and crazy scene. So just to redundantly go over the story again, Hiragi Utena is a hardcore magical girl fan who was coerced into becoming a force of evil by a crafty mascot character. Right on cue, magical girls arrive to lay down the law in her wickedness, and with very little choice, Utena fights back with her newfound magical sadomasochism powers. And to her surprise, she ends up really liking it. And with that, the lewd adventures of Utena and her perverted posse begins. So just to quell any confusion, I do ship Utena with Kiwi and Sayo. In fact, Sayo is a very close second from this series, giving us some of the most eye-popping moments ever committed to daytime television. Kiwi, however, is just a bit more lukewarm to me, and it's mainly because I'm not the biggest Kiwi fan. I don't dislike her or anything, it's just that she can be a bit much at times, whereas every other character can at least be more subdued in normal situations. And anyway, that's not the focus here. Matama and Nemo have the spotlight, and they got some mad moves to show. As soon as I saw them make their debut, I knew right away they inhabited the bickering tsundere friends trope. They fight like cats and dogs, but deep down they crave the love and attention from their crush that makes them go gaga. It also didn't take too long for Utena notices about them too, and as a result we get a back-to-back showcase of friends being good friends, with Matama stripping down to her birthday suit to rescue Nemo from being flattened, and of course both being encouraged to consummate their friendship in the purest way possible. I have to say, when I first read the escape room chapter, my mind was kind of blown out of my asshole. Despite all the extremely raunchy content leading up to this, I still did not expect that we'd get full-blown Sesbian Lex. I mean, it wasn't all shown, obviously, but the fact that they even served up some tuna fish tacos was mind-boggling. It's a slightly different story with the anime, of course, as they did show more pearl polishing, and I already knew that nudity was certain to come with this scene, but I was still kind of surprised that their carpet munching lasted as long as it did. Now, before I get added on to an FBI watch list, there's just one little thing I want to bring up. I don't know if anyone mentioned this yet, but Matama and Nemo are pretty much a splitting image of Daiwa's Scarlet and Vodka from Uma Musume. It's kinda crazy how much they remind me of them, but that's a-okay since I ship Scarlet and Vodka pretty hard too. And if Matama and Nemo's dynamic is any indication, then it must mean that Scarlet is the top in the relationship, right? Alright, so before I go gushing grannies on the final pick, let's make people feel validated by showing off some honorable mentions. Hit it, girls!
Marcille の方が顔色悪いみたい。これはただの魔力切れ。ご飯食べてゆっくり休めば大丈夫。
Number 1. Falin and Marcille. Delicious in Dungeon. That's right. The number 1 spot goes to the two lovely mages, Falin Toden and Marcille Donato. Admittedly, I had no idea about the existence of the manga or the anime around the time it started airing. What actually drew me to it was the vast influx of Falin and Marcille fan art at the time. And naturally, this intrigued me. So I decided to take the plunge and give the anime a shot. And what followed was one of the most pleasantly surprising viewing experiences I had in quite some time. D&D is honestly my choice for anime of the year. I even made a video going over all the great things about it. One of which is our two heroines. So in case you have no idea, the anime is about a group of adventurers who lost one of their teammates to the jaw of a deadly dragon, but not before being sent back out of the dungeon with a teleportation spell. Vowing to rescue their comrade, the remaining members go back into the magical dungeon yet again, but this time with a different plan of attack. They would survive off of the creatures along the way and traverse to the lowest levels where the dragon resides, with their hearts full of conviction and their bellies full of nutrients. So spoilers, Falin and Marcille have very little interactions in the series, which you would expect considering Falin spends most of her time in the gullet of a dragon, and then later turning into a dragon hybrid thing. However, the times that we do see them together left a very strong impression on me, and even when they're apart they would still be the first thing on their mind. Marcille would prove this time and time again, going above and beyond to rescue her dear friend, from begging others to lend their support, to reviving her with forbidden magic out of desperation. Also, I know this might sound a bit silly, but in regard to the romance, I kind of appreciate how the anime approaches their relationship in a rather subtle manner. At the end of the day, it's ultimately open to interpretation, but there's just enough hints in the show to give us some slight nudges in a certain direction, especially after that famous bath scene. Watch this scene from beginning to end, and tell me you didn't walk away with at least one eyebrow raised. But wait, there's more. They later sleep in the same bed after sharing an intimate moment, because nothing says good friends like bathing and sleeping together. And those intense eye-locking sessions, that's just them having a staring contest, because that's how good friends act with each other. I don't have to do this again, do I? Finally, this ship compelled me enough to the point where I even drew a handful of fan art of them. And trust me, I gotta be really committed to want to make some saucy content of something. And by the way, I want to thank all my patrons for supporting my work too. You guys are freaking rock stars. Anyway, with season 2 coming up real soon, I predict we'll get plenty more sweet and savory moments, not exclusive to all the monster cooking. I just hope that when the time comes for Falin to be saved, it'll ultimately be Marcille who has to place the last piece in the puzzle. Just make sure Falin is properly covered up before that happens. Alright, time to address the elephant in the room. Now, it's no secret that 2024 has been fairly underwhelming in terms of Yuri content. You can basically count all the proper Yuri anime on one hand. I know we had big adaptations like Gushing Over Magical Girls and Whisper Me a Love Song, but can you honestly say that these two anime were the best they can possibly be? All you have to do is watch a single clip and feel your eyes start to burn. This is also on top of the fact that 2024 is coming off the heels of 2023, which I consider to be in the running for the greatest year for Yuri anime, right next to the venerable 2018. However, this year wasn't all mediocrity. Just to the west side of anime, we got a big f***ing W with Arcane Season 2. And I know I normally talk about Japanese anime and manga, but this is such a big deal that I have to bring it up. Don't worry, I won't spoil it. Just know that I intend to make content about this beloved series in one way or another very soon. That's how the cupcake rolls, baby. And finally, let's end this video by looking to the near future. Now, very quickly, I most likely will not make a Let's Talk Yuri video for winter 2025, as there just doesn't seem to be enough in the season to warrant a video. Now, that doesn't mean I won't talk about some of them. Who knows? There might be some shows that pull a Happy Meal out of their ass. However, the remainder of 2025 is something we can all look to with hearts in our eyes. The lineup so far is quite promising, with the main dishes being Watanare, A Monster Wants to Eat Me, and The Moon on a Rainy Night. However, the quality of these shows still remain to be seen. Overall, I'm hoping for the best in the coming year. And I just want to clarify that I'm not saying 2024 was a terrible year for Yuri by any means. It just had lots of potential that weren't fully realized. Anyway, that's all I got. See you around.